5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think we all need something to drink tonight, so I hope you guys brought your own bottles. You know, I got a little bit in mine. I ain't got enough for everybody. It's about 2 minutes before the half hour, so I'm coming on early enough where you guys will get the notifications, get off that short bus, and get yourselves together. While I'm waiting on you, I'm going to sit here and pour myself a little libation. I usually do a short pour. Tonight, I don't know, folks. So, well, yeah, people. I see 1 or 2 people in here. I'm going to say this one more again. When you guys come in, I can't always see who's in the house. So, when you come in, throw me a thumbs up. Show me some love. Let me know you're in the house. What's up, D? Yep. Well, I guess all of you guys have seen what's going on the news. I got somebody in the house and my numbers aren't reflecting who's here. So, one more again. I'm going to say when you come in, show bro love and let me know you're in the house. Now do the same and make your deal. You throw me some thumbs up and I'm going to give you a shout out. How about that? Because I can't always see. I think you guys say, well, why doesn't he say, what's up, Jen? Um, why doesn't he acknowledge me? It's because with Facebook, I can't, unless you guys do something to let me know you're here, I don't always know you're here. So it works hand in hand. I know you guys have been bombarded with what's going on already because it's all that's been on the news today. Yet another indictment, arrest, and a hearing is set for this one. Unlike some of the state um, indictments and arrests, the federal judge isn't dragging her feet. So, that being said, that's where we at. So I guess nobody had to think about what we were going to be talking about tonight. The delusional demagogue is what I call him now. I used to call him the delusional. I call him delusional Donnie. I call him despicable Donnie. I call him delusional despicable one. But some people are starting to say some of the things that I've been saying for the longest. And I take solace in, on one hand, knowing that I said it first. On the other hand, I wish I didn't have to say it. I wish I was wrong. So, that being said, how is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Oh, Miss Brown, how you doing, lady? We got to talk about that. I usually mess around the first 5 or 10 minutes, giving everybody a chance to get in because I don't always see the numbers. What's up, Frank? Throw me. Oh, okay. Hey, 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 back. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I hope everybody got to drink tonight. I think everybody's going to need it. Um, it's Trump, Trump, and more Trump. So I'm gonna go ahead, get in, and get out. Before I do that, I'm gonna just say this. I had some people to visit my show and then had the audacity to send me messages saying that I wasted time and I did this and I did that. When I have information to disseminate that I think is a bit of pill to swallow, first of all, I use a public speaking technique. I tell you what I'm going to tell you, I tell you what I got to tell you, and then I tell you what I told you. So my redundancy and repetition is by design. Secondly, everything ain't for everybody. If you're not really into politics and you don't understand what's happening, it may sound mundane or something you don't want to hear. But the fact that you're here and listening, even if you don't like what I have to say, mission accomplished. Because this is not about making you agree with me. This is about starting conversation and dialogue to begin with. So when you take the time and listen to my show and give me that feedback, be it negative or positive, I'm cool with that. So I don't think I want to. My name isn't Trump. I don't need to surround myself with yes men and women. What I want to do, what I seek to do, is inform so that you can make up your own minds. Because most of you are not going to tune in to MSNBC and CNN and Meet the Press and all these other news programs. So I'll try to give you something that we can grab hold to. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and stop messing around here and get this going. Okay. Janice, they're not ignorant, they just don't agree. Some people are not informed and some people are frightened. When I get some responses, what I chalk it up to is people. It's especially some of the what I talked about last week. One lady told me I got a slick mouth, and why would I have the audacity to open my show singing a Prince song? Well, there was a message in the song itself, and the fact that Prince was such the genius that he is, the message gave us in 1999 was prophetic in nature. So in the song, he says, I was dreaming when I wrote this, forgive me if it goes astray, but when I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day. Last week, I talked about the fact that it seems like I said, Mommy, why does everybody have a bomb? And then I said, Mommy, why does everybody have a Trump? Because when like it or not, as flawed as America is, we are the example for the world. So when they see somebody like Donald Trump do the things that he did under the guise of democracy or this republic, if you will, they have a tendency to want to do it too. Case in point, Netanyahu and Israel has done away with his parliament, and they had a two-stage parliament that would be equivalent to our U.S. Supreme Court and our Congress. Now he has supreme power. So imagine in Israel. Netanyahu is becoming a Putin, if you will. So when I say, Mommy, why does everybody have a bomb? It's because what made America and Germany in the day superpowers was we were the first to have a, a nuclear bomb. That alone made us a superpower. And the fact that we were kind of the shining light of NATO and trying to spread our brand or some other countries to devise their own plan of democracy based on some of the things that we do here in America. Now everybody has nuclear armament. Now everybody has a nuclear arsenal, not just one or two bombs. Last week, one of the things I was talking about, North Korea is carrying on this. I don't even know what this supreme being thing. And now Kim Jong Un's sister is showing her butt as a female, and she's been firing intercontinental ballistic missiles into the air and crashing them into the Sea of Japan. So with Netanyahu taking this Trump-like supreme being, this Trump-like thing of not being touched, and nobody can tell them anything, nobody in Parliament. And what I didn't talk about is the protests in Israel started off with under 500 people. They marched like 40 miles. And by the time it may have only been 20 miles. So forgive me for my Yankee Doodle Paul Revere thing. The main thing is this: it started off with under 400 people. By the time it ended, some 20, 30 miles later, there were over tens of thousands of people that had joined the protest. And despite all of that, Netanyahu got his way. And he is the single voice that's going to be heard from Israel now. The impact that that has on the world is now he can do away with the Palestinians. Now he can take on Iran if he chooses to do so, and anybody else, any other Muslim country. And nobody can tell him anything. And I promise you, the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, and maybe even billions of dollars of financial aid that we send to Israel is not going to stop simply because we don't agree with Netanyahu Putin and how he handles his affairs. So yes, if you don't agree with it, I understand it. If it scares the shit out of you, it should. These are very scary times that we live in. But so much for the recap from last week. And before I leave that, let me just say this. So you had Israel, which wants to be a supreme being. We had Putin, who overcame his uprising and wants to be a supreme being and take over. Well, he's trying to rebuild the USSR. So it's not just about Ukraine. Let me just kind of make that clear. And then on top of that, the, the premier or president of Italy wants to reinstill her own form of fascism like Mussolini did back before World War II. So if you get mad at the messenger for giving you the message, mission accomplished. I'll take that one on the chin. At least I inform you. My mom used to say, if I know something and I don't tell you, my bad. If I tell you and you choose not to listen, My hands are clean. Shame on you. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and start tonight's show. So much for my recap from last week. I'm back. I'm 100%. So we're gonna do this. It's a what? Oh, damn. It's about 12, 13 minutes past the half hour. I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. My name is Hank Batiste. I'm your host tonight. This is OMITdaLOGIC. But before I get started, I want to say I am truly humbled that each and every one of you choose to tune in week in and week out. Of all the things you could be doing on a Thursday night, you choose to be here with me. Every week I try to take current events. I said we take current events that don't make sense. We break them down and we try to make it make sense. I try to help you to make it make sense. Then I say the voices in my head, because a lot of times I write something down, I revisit it, and from inside of myself I get a different perspective from rereading it. Does it make sense? Is it clear? Is it concise? Will it make sense to you when you hear it? So forth and so on. Tonight, the voices in my head are anxious and admittedly somewhat pessimistic. I'm anxious because this is the first time that delusional demagogue, Donnie the delusional demagogue, was not smiling. This is the first time that he didn't come out doing that little crazy people dance and celebrating when he was arrested and charged with 4 additional counts stemming from the January 6th failed coup. Let me just say, I know I was, if not the first, I was one of the first to say this January 6th was a failed attempted coup d'etat. And it was one linchpin away from pulling it off. And Mike Pence showing him portraying himself, and I'm upset, folks, so work with me here. Mike Pence portraying himself to be the patriot is bullshit. Only reason he did what he did is because he has aspiration of being evil, evil supreme being number one. He was tired of playing second fiddle to Trump. And he saw it as a springboard that he could use to launch his own presidential campaign. I said that back then, and now we see it. So now, in the last 8 months, this federal prosecutor, special prosecutor, that Garland Merrick, folks, I am so pissed. I'm so pissed. Really, I can't get it. I can't enunciate. I'm so full here because I've been kind of waiting on this. But just like I'm admittedly anxious to see the outcome, I'm somewhat pessimistic. Why? Because what January 6th showed us, what January 6th demonstrated, is that Trump and his disciples are at every level of government. They're in the court system. Let me take me a sip. I told you I needed a drink. Hey, Mickey, you want a drink, man? Donnie's disciples reside at every echelon of government. They're in the federal court system. And as we have seen with Clarence, he has his allies on the Supreme as well. So no matter what happens, will it be fair? That has yet to be determined. But it defines my pessimism. Though all eyes are on America today, I got two things I want to ask you. Where were you as a country? When some people will choose to have a dictator, a person who says if he gets reelected, he's going to do away with parts of the Constitution. First, you do not have that unilateral power in the executive branch of government. But people want something to believe in so badly that they are willing to give up and sacrifice their civil liberties. The other thing I want to ask you, when we talk about the Netanyahus, when we talk about the Kim Jong-uns, when we talk about the Putins, when we talk about the Italy and there's so many places that this is happening on the globe. When we talk about all of these places, all of these things, all of these countries having their own versions of Donald Trump, where are we as a world? My name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITdaLOGIC. Let's do this. First up, I told you so. I take no satisfaction in being correct with my Creole powers. As a young Marine, I took an oath to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. For 4 years, we had to stand by and watch the delusional demagogue named Donald J. trample not only on the oath, but let me back up a minute. As a young Marine, I took that oath. What you may or may not know is members of Congress and the President of the United States takes that same oath. Though they may not be in the military, they take that same oath to defend this country and its constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And for 4 years, we had to stand idly by and watch Donnie, the delusional demagogue, trample not only on the oath of office, but disregard and obliterate the U.S. Constitution as apply to him. So those of us who are old enough to remember Watergate, we saw a Republican Party, including those members of Congress, do what they're supposed to do. Congress, anybody in business know that the CEO serves at the pleasure of the board of directors. The board of directors is there, right, Mickey? They're there to keep that CEO in line. Because each business has its own constitution, if you will. They're set up in the charter all of these rules and policy that govern the CEO and hold him to his fiduciary responsibility. In Watergate, we saw the Republican Party stand up, walk down the hill, and go to the White House and tell Milhouse Nixon, we're not behind you on this. To those of you that are not old enough, let me just give you a quick history lesson. Why did Nixon order his henchmen, Hunt, Howard Hunt, G. Gordon Liddy, and McCard were the main three, but there were actually five people. Why did he order them to bug the office in Watergate? He did so because Watergate was the office or the location of the National Democratic Committee. So by doing so, he would know all of the strategies beforehand. And it gave him an unfair advantage going towards the running for the office of president again for re-election. Miss, if Miss Condor was on tonight, I have a teacher. A woman follows me on Facebook. That was my civics teacher in my freshman year of high school. I was one of a couple hundred of students nationwide chosen to go to DC to see how the three branches of government work up close and personal. Therefore, the program was called Close Up. One of the tours we took is we went to the Howard Johnson that sat opposite, on the opposite side of the street of the Watergate building. And it's where the FBI sit there and stake out everything that was going on. That's how they caught G. Gordon Liddy and these other guys. And it's what led to Deep Throat and all the president's men and Woodward. And we don't live in that day and time. What Nixon did pales in comparison to what Trump has done. I told you months ago that the coup continues because he's still, even though he's under indictment and he's been arrested, he's still, today I heard the former lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. Let me see. I can't think of his name now. But I saw him today, and he parroted something that I've been saying for the longest. He says, because he sees this demagogue still fighting people. And he says that another January 6th is on the horizon. This is the Republican former lieutenant governor of Georgia. Then we saw Bill Barr, who started out being Trump's man, and then he wound up being one of the people that Trump couldn't control. And he said, time and time again, I told him, Mr. President, you lost. You can't do what you want to do. You can't disregard this. There are no improprieties when it came to this election. And then we hear other presidential aides said, she walked into the office one day and she said that Trump said, this is hearsay, I'm repeating it, but if they said it on two news outlets, I feel safe in saying it. So it's not me libeling somebody, it's me parroting what I heard. She said she walked into the office and Trump candidly said, can you believe I lost to that SOB? So the defense of him truly believing that there were improprieties and it was his job and he was exercising his First Amendment rights, no. All of it is about inciting people. And to add insult to injury, people, the number of Republicans that believe that Joe Biden is not the legitimate president has risen 8 points, 8 percentage points. Now, most would say that we have a three-party country: Republicans, Democrats, and independents. So the easy way of looking at it is one third, one third, one third. And even if it's 68%, because this is the number that's being quoted, and I dare not look at Fox because they might say it's 74%. Even if it's 68 to 70% of Republicans who now believe that Joe Biden is not a legitimate president, we have to ask ourselves, how many of those people are police officers, FBI agents, former military, Green Beret, Marine Corps, snipers, recon, Navy SEALs, and so on and so on. How many of those are willing to do whatever it takes to create a social uprising or to try to incite a civil war, especially when we already heard him say, leading up to January the 6th, that we have to be, quote unquote, we have to be willing to fight. Otherwise, we won't have a country. And the most astonishing thing, the most dumbfounding thing to me is Bill Barr being that close to Donald Trump and seeing his narcissistic ass. I'm trying not to cuss tonight, folks. Seeing this narcissistic behind on a daily basis with his sociopathic tendencies. Bill Barr had the audacity to say, if Donald Trump became the Republican nominee for president in 2024, and I quote, I don't know who I would vote for. I don't know how you interpret that. To me, what it says, he's more connected. He's more loyal to this renegade faction of the Republican Party simply because they call themselves Republicans, that he would follow them down the rabbit hole. And with someone with this kind of legal mind and outspokenness, how could he even? Because for him to say that, despite all of this, I would rather vote for a Republican than anyone else. Others are going to follow his example. Hence the 8-point increase in those that say they don't believe that Biden is a legitimate president or actually won the election. I got one more thing I'm going to say. Then I'm going to let this go and I'm going to get out of here. Because as you have seen, I'm a little too close to this. And it angers me because too many of us are willing to stand idly by and say, but I'm not into politics. So let me say this. Back on the day of the inauguration, I wrote a piece, a spoken word, that I told you was prophetic. I told you it would come to pass. I've posted it several times. I'm going to post it again. And I urge you to listen to it. In hindsight, 2020 was not 2020. 2020 was not 2020. Because now, Brutus and the killers are coming forth to be prosecuted. Some have been using this to say, in the last 8 months, federal prosecutor Jack Smith has taken a stronger hand, a more definitive hand to hold Trump responsible and accountable for his part in all of the things he's done, from taking top secret documents to inciting the riot to try to overthrow. They want to say take the election, but no, he was overthrowing the government. How do I know that? Because he's telling you now, if he becomes president again, he's going to overthrow the Constitution for his own maniacal, sociopathic, narcissistic needs. To you, those of you that's been watching my show, and this is it, I told you that Nancy Pelosi was not the person. I didn't give a rat's ass that she was a woman. I knew she didn't have the leadership qualities to make an impact. I told you the same thing about Chuck Schumer. So imagine back when Pelosi was Speaker of the House and she started these hearings for January the 6th. She was out of the office visiting Taiwan and here and there and everywhere. Sadly, she was doing some of the same things that Trump did. She was increasing her own portfolio financially. Otherwise, we could have already had this done. Why is that pertinent? Because Donald Trump was starting to fade to black. But now that he announced early that he was seeking re-election or to run again for president, now he gets to sell himself as being a victim. And despite all that he did, he's not being prosecuted because he broke the law. He's being persecuted because there are some who don't want to see him be president or dictator. So as I go, there was a federal judge that summed it up best. What she said is the president, no president is king. And then she followed that statement up with Donald Trump is not president. That's all I got for you tonight, folks. Do me a favor. Before you go to my YouTube. subscribe, ring the bell, share this show with other people, even if it pisses them off and they all call me and want to say whatever. If they want to take shots at the messengers, so be it, as long as they hear the message. So subscribe, OMITDALOGIC. I'm Hank Batiste. This is OMITdaLOGIC. As always, before I go, I tell you, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose, because one thing about this game called life, nobody leaves alive. So you're born on this day and you die on this day. And in between is a dash. Make that dash stand for something. And I'll see you next week, right here, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. And as always, important, I wish you love. I wish you peace. 2 fingers to the sky. Like your man. Yeah, great. I'm out of here. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I love you to death. All you can do is love me back. Good night. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies, for tuning in. I'm gonna go back and try to edit the show. I got nothing to edit tonight. I tried to keep it short. I think I came in around 45 minutes, but whatever the case may be, talk to y'all later. Good night. Go get you a drink. I know this shit was rough. Ain't sexy, but it had to be said.